Now to Tokyo, where, as we told you earlier, the opening ceremony for the Olympics is finally underway after a long year of delays and lockdowns. The Games will feature over 11,000 athletes from around 200 countries competing in more than 30 different sports. But they'll be parading and performing without the roar of adoring crowds or applause from fans because stadiums will be mostly empty due to COVID restrictions. So Jamie Yuccas is in Tokyo with the very latest, and she is here to discuss. Jamie, I know that you have covered an Olympic Games before. I can't imagine what it's going to be like an opening ceremony without the crowds. Usually the crowds are involved in the actual ceremony. What are athletes saying about, what it will be like to compete without spectators?
Well, I can tell you some of the athletes I spoke to before leaving Southern California told me that they were rehearsing and practicing without having any noise, or some of them would practice with music just to try to get used to being in their own head a little bit, because that's probably what's going to happen with no crowds there. But you're absolutely right. All the energy and attention is now going to be focused on the athleticism, which I think is what they're going to try to get across in the opening ceremony at this point. So we'll see how that goes. I think it'll be kind of a precursor to how some of these events may feel to those watching at home. But as you said, I did cover the Olympics in Rio in 2016, and the opening ceremony had 65,000 people in it. It was a spectacle. It was fun. It was music. It was dancing. It was crowds. In this situation, there's 1,500 people inside the stadium, including, some of the diplomats and other government officials who are there. So quite a difference, and it will be quite a different feel, I'm sure.
So we're seeing reports now that a couple of Team USA members have tested positive while in Japan. Have you heard anything more about this?
Yeah, we've been reporting that Kara Aker, who was an alternate on the gymnastics team, as well as beach volleyball player Taylor Crabb, both of them reportedly have tested positive for coronavirus. We've heard about 19 other people have also tested positive while here in Tokyo, 3 of them athletes, but we're not sure whether or not they're connected to Team USA or not at this point. Of course, because it's a health situation, unless the athlete themselves confirms it, there could be rumors and you may see rosters change and that kind of thing, but the athletes themselves or the team themselves are going to have to confirm who it is. At this point, some family members I talked to of different athletes concerned that there could be these breakthrough cases, especially after hearing that Kara Aker, the alternate gymnast, was fully vaccinated before she came to the Olympic Games here. So people watching that very closely, and family members who weren't allowed to come over now having to watch from home, and concerned not only wanting to watch their loved one compete in the Olympics and hope that they do well, but also hope that they come home healthy.
So clearly it wasn't mandatory to get vaccinated to go to the Games because, you pointed out that not everyone on the team has been vaccinated. I'm just wondering about the safety measures then that are in place. And if in the middle of this, should you decide that a vaccination is probably a pretty good idea because some of your teammates are coming up positive, is that an option that's available to the athletes in Japan? And what other things are happening to make sure that they contain the spread of this virus?
Well, Anne-Marie, I think what's interesting here is that if an athlete were to get vaccinated, at this point, really, they're not going to have the immunity while they're here in Japan. It's a little bit too late, right? So we haven't heard of any mass vaccination sites or any sites around the Olympic Village where that's happening. We did hear that there were some athletes who did not want to take the vaccine, worried that it could impact their performance. They didn't know how the vaccine would go with their performance and their training and that type of thing, but may get it after the Olympics are held. So we'll see if that, in fact, happens. And as you said, it was not required for them to get vaccinated. But one thing that medical professionals are pointing out is that about 85% of athletes said that they were vaccinated before the Olympic Games, and that's all teams. Team USA is at about 83%, which most medical people will tell you is a very good rate. In the United States, about 56% of people have had one shot. So they're saying if you look at the comparison, the athletes themselves are in a very good category. We did learn, though, this morning that there weren't enough testing kits at the Olympic Village initially. So they've gone in, they've been able to kind of rectify that situation. They've gotten the testing kits in, and there's a schedule here. It sounds like the tests are on schedule, and that's been fixed. And I can tell you that we, even as a team here in Tokyo, have had to get tested every day the first 3 days that we've been here. We got tested at the airport, and there's also a schedule for us journalists to make sure that none of us test positive for coronavirus as well. So they're taking it very seriously. It's just a matter of how it all goes as these days continue.
Yeah, it's a very determined virus, but it looks like they're doing everything that they can. Jamie, thank you very much.